With inflation on the rise, record housing costs, and crushing student loans, more young adults are struggling to make ends meet. So according to a survey from Northwestern Mutual, 42% of U.S. adults still rely on their parents for financial support. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here to help families navigate those choices. She's here on a Saturday with us.
Woo!
We're very lucky.
Very happy.
Okay, so let's level set. What are some of the things that parents are helping their children with right now?
So when we looked at the survey results, it's the things you might imagine, like, excuse me, groceries and food. About 83% are helping with that. And then we go down to mortgage rent, and that's 63%. And then you go to like health care, health insurance, another 54%. So it's kind of a variety of things. AARP did a survey recently, and they came up with this big number, kind of trying to figure out how much are people actually spending. And they said, on average, it's $7,000 that parents are putting out annually, so it doesn't stop after a while, to their young adult children. So it's not a huge number, but it's not an insignificant number either.
And it's going up, right?
It's going up because of inflation,
right.
Of course.
Okay, so how should parents balance helping their kids but not enabling their kids?
I think that when we look at these situations, you want to say to yourself, like, I know I want to be there, but I also want to make sure that I'm fostering good financial habits. And so I think that we could try to create some ground rules sometimes. So, for example, let's say your kids just graduated. It's a tough job market for recent college grads. Kids coming home to live with you. Many people in this situation. Maybe you have a conversation about how long you think that could go on. In some families, they'll say, we wish
No, I can't. My mom would never.
I know, but we're going to help her. So maybe your mom would say, you know what, let's do this for 6 months. We'll revisit it. Or maybe they'll say, some families, they actually charge rent, or they say, we want you to chip into for utilities. We want you to do certain chores. In one family, I know that this was really fascinating. They said, hey, you know what? You're not working right now. Your grandmother needs some help doing some things in their house. So I think that there are ways to kind of carve out a game plan. Again, it doesn't have to be living in like cement with a game plan. It could be, let's revisit this in a few months. By the way, if they're living home and they're having a hard time finding a job, I do think it's okay to say, hey, you know what? You're not looking for a job. This is not going on forever. Yeah. So unless you find a job soon, we're going to make different decisions. And that's really the key here.
Yeah, though I think those conversations are really hard because
Totally.
I think I don't have kids yet, but I feel like I would just be like, I want to help you. But what about situations? I mean, we've seen a lot of folks where parents are paying for down payments on a home. That's not your groceries. That's a really big financial investment.
Okay, so it's a large piece of your financial picture, right? And you say, okay, well, I really do want to help my kid, maybe with a down payment. Now, down payments can be $50,000, $80,000. I think these are places where you need a written agreement. We were talking about this before we went on the air, and that is that it feels weird sometimes, but especially if you have more than one kid, it's very important to put something down on paper. Here's what we're doing. It's good to disclose it if there are other siblings. Like, what if you were my 2 children? I should be so lucky. And I said, okay, I'm gonna on the side, I'm gonna give Adriana $50,000 for her down payment, but I don't tell you. Then you find out later. That is so bad. So what we would do is we'd say, okay, let's have a written agreement. Here's what's going to happen. I tell you, Kelly, you're my child, and what I'm going to do is when everything's settled up, maybe with estate documents, if I don't give you the money now, you'll get it later when I pass away. But again, written agreement's really important.
And what should adult children who borrow large sums from their parents consider in terms of the long-term impact?
Well, I think I heard from some podcast listeners who said, please warn anyone that when you take money from your parents, there are 2 issues. Number one is you really need to interrogate with your parents, can they afford it? Because there are cases where kids get the money and they find out later, like, oh, my God, I now have to help my parents through retirement. So you need to have these conversations that are 2 ways, like, can you really afford it? And also, when you take money, are you inviting your parents to basically come in and then judge the way you spend your money? Right. Perhaps. And so you must understand that there is an emotional aspect to this. You know, in one survey, they found out that parents who are giving the money, they feel financial strain from making this. 42% say it actually puts a strain on my own finances. That's not great, okay? Again, we want you to settle your own retirement before you help your kids out. 35% said that there was an emotional aspect to this, that they felt less than as parents for doing this. They felt
parents
like
themselves?
Yeah, and they felt that they were doing their kids a disservice, and that they worried that the kids were not going to be able to take care of themselves. So what are we trying to do here? You know, I've been doing financial literacy and conversations for, many decades now. That's how old I am. And I think that if we have these conversations, these intergenerational conversations, what we're really trying to make sure is that everybody is on firm footing, that everyone can get on their way, and that you feel comfortable in these conversations. So have them early and make sure nobody is at risk here.
Open dialogue is key.
Don't you think?
Communication's important with everything,
You bet.
right? Relationships, money. Thank you, Jill.
My pleasure.
If you have questions about your financial life, you can email Jill. We share her. Just email askjill@cbs.com, and she may answer one of your questions in an upcoming segment. And you can hear more advice on her podcast. It's called Money Watch with Jill Schlesinger. New episodes drop every Saturday and Sunday.